Coming up on this episode of Talking NASCAR, Trackhouse makes some changes internally, Legacy Motor Club has blocked the sale of Rick Ware Racing, and let's analyze the good and the bad of the 2026 NASCAR schedules. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Talking NASCAR. I am your host, Andrew. Got a lot of news to cover today. We got a little bit of a packed show. Today we got the Daytona regular season finale. The Coca-Cola Zero 400 is coming up tomorrow night. A night race, another Saturday night race, hot on the heels of the Richmond Saturday night race. So we got to be staying tuned for that. Big crashes right around the corner, but again, before we get to that, we got a little bit of news to cover and wrap up before we get to that. And unfortunately, we do have to start with some little bit of some sad news in the NASCAR world. H.A. Wheeler, or better known as Humpy Wheeler, the former promoter and president of Charlotte Motor Speedway, passed away yesterday at the age of 86. Passed away due to natural causes, surrounded by his family and friends. A very influential figure of NASCAR, especially during their big rise back in the late 90s and early 2000s, a time I was unfortunately not alive in, so I did not really get to witness uh, that kind of growth that NASCAR was in. But Humpy Wheeler certainly made an impact in helping promote the Charlotte Motor Speedway, back then known as Lowe's Motor Speedway, hired in 1975 by the original owner of Speedway Motorsports, SMI, Bruton Smith, the father actually of Marcus Smith, I believe. Humpy Wheeler made a tremendous impact on NASCAR all the way up until his retirement in 2008. He's best known for his fans first approach and his mentorship of drivers, industry executives, and professionals as well. And that earned him the moniker of the P.T. Barnum of motorsports. I think that's a fitting nickname, and I think that you should carry that with pride if you're nicknamed the P.T. Barnum of everything, or of anything, I should say. But so sad to hear that one of NASCAR's most iconic figures, especially when it comes to tracks, that is not named Marcus Smith, passed away, and it's very sad to hear. So I wish my condolences and best wishes to all of Humpy Wheeler's family, friends, and wish them well through this difficult time, and hope they're doing well once again. However, let's move on to some more news in NASCAR. Timmy Hill will run the Southern 500 next week to open the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Darlington with Garage 66 in the number 66 Ford Mustang. Timmy has been a veteran of NASCAR for quite a while. I know last year he made one or two Cup Series starts. I think he actually ran a race at Circuit of the Americas. I actually know for a fact he did run a race in the 66 car at Circuit of the Americas when the team was known as MBM Motorsports and not Garage 66. So um, I'm not expecting much from Timmy Hill. That's not a very quick car, doesn't have a lot of resources, but Carl Long, the team owner of MBM Motorsports and Garage 66, loves racing, former driver. So I know that the team will show up there and will do their best on the amount of resources they have. So good luck to Timmy Hill and Garage 66. They're still searching for a sponsor. So we're going to have to wait and see how things go for Timmy Hill and that entire Garage 66 team. But again, good luck to the entire team next week at Darlington. This will actually be back-to-back starts, come to think of it, for Garage 66, because Casey Mears will be in the field for tomorrow night's Cup Series race at Daytona for Garage 66. So back-to-back starts for Garage 66 with Casey Mears tomorrow night and Timmy Hill next weekend in Darlington for the Southern 500. Now, before we move on to some more news about Trackhouse and Legacy Motor Club and their lawsuit with Rick Ware Racing, I've heard a little bit of rumors and actually seen some reports online from several news outlets around Nashville. The Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, a small short track, I believe, in Nashville somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. Definitely not as close to Nashville as Nashville Super Speedway. It's a little bit more further inside the city and not quite outside the city. like Nashville Superspeedway is, I should say. But apparently, there's been some rumors going around that some more efforts to revive and bring NASCAR back to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway have started up once again. This has been kind of going on for a couple years now. I can remember back to 2022, efforts really started. There was a lot of talks and a lot of courts and a lot of meetings in the town, in the city council got involved, a lot of that. And because that speedway is really close to some neighborhoods and suburban neighborhoods in Nashville. And I know there was a lot of pushback about that because of noise pollution, some fumes possibly coming from the cars. And I do think they've had racing there recently with some dirt track cars, some late models, maybe some uh, I think it was maybe some other types of racing going on, pavement racing, maybe Legends cars race there, possibly. I know it's a bit of a short track; it's a mile oval in Nashville, but I've heard some rumors that possibly some more efforts to revive the track and bring the NASCAR back to that speedway have started up once again. So we're gonna have to wait and see how that goes. And one of the reports did end with a statement from a supporter saying that more news on some of these efforts will be shared in later days. So I might have to come back to this a little bit later next week or in 2 weeks to talk about this again. We'll just have to wait and see how this story updates. So thought I'd talk about that in the Nashville Fairgrounds because NASCAR has not been there for over a decade, and it's been going on for 3 or 4 years now, I should say, to bring NASCAR back to that track and to revive it. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Now, moving on to some more news. It's been a busy week for Trackhouse Racing and Justin Marks first. There's a little bit of a debate apparently about Connor Zilich's status and whether he will compete this weekend at Daytona. He is in the field for the Xfinity Series race tonight, actually. I believe that is going on. I believe they went under a red flag for uh, inclement weather around Daytona International Speedway. So I know Connor Zilich is in the field. My opinion on that, real quick. Very interesting to have him be in that race, especially since he had a back injury. I think I already talked about this maybe earlier in the week. So, but either way, I wasn't very like thrilled to see him back in the car, but like maybe this is him just being very committed to the season. He wants to get that seat time. I think Trackhouse is just letting him maybe kind of say, "Hey, I'm ready. Keep me in the car. I want to be in there." Maybe Junior Motorsports wants them to still be in there to trace the owners' championship or the drivers' championship. Trackhouse, who knows what they want? We haven't really got a lot of information on that, but if you want to hear my more of my thoughts on that, I should say, go check out my last episode. I think I reacted to that official statement from a couple days ago. But either way, Trackhouse Racing has announced they have fired Tony Lunders, the competition director and chief operation officer for Trackhouse, and as well Gary Putnam, director of the shop floor operations. They were fired, or it was announced they were fired yesterday, and that Todd Meredith, a longtime executive in NASCAR and the Cup Series for several other teams, has been hired to fill in as the competition director for Trackhouse Racing. This is an interesting move, being that they've had a lot going on in these past couple weeks. They also have a media availability and like a media announcement scheduled for tomorrow, I believe, as well. I heard. So, quick little mention there. I think this was the same weekend they announced Shane Van Gisbergen full time to the number 99 or the number 88 car full time last year. So Connor Zilich might be in the news once again this week. Who knows? But Trackhouse has not looked as good as recent years. I remember 2022, Ross Chastain made his magical run all the way to the championship. For 2023, took a little bit of a step back. Chastain and Suarez were still a little bit competitive, mostly Chastain. And then this year, uh, or last year, I should say, or yeah, 2024, they both made the playoffs pretty well. Chastain ended up getting a couple wins. Suarez got that win at Atlanta last year. 2023, again, took a little bit of step back from 2022. And this year, we're just seeing a really big step back for both teams because outside of that magical run for Chastain at the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, there's not been a whole lot for Chastain and Suarez. And then Shane Van Gisbergen and all of his road course wins, but like we kind of expected him to be really good there and to get those wins. Fair point, though. We did not expect him to get all those wins, I should say. But besides that, not a lot really impressive from Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain. And that's obviously why Daniel Suarez is being let go at the end of the season by Trackhouse and Connor Zilic. Again, look at Saturday and let's see what happens then. Might be taking over that 99 car next season. And honestly, I think Justin Marks probably realizes that they are not true championship contenders this year. I think Chastain does have a chance to move through the round of 16 to the round of 12. It's definitely going to be a little bit difficult because the playoffs, I would say, this year are very competitive. I think that he is in a very competitive setting and competitive level with guys from JGR, maybe like Bell, Hamlin, maybe Briscoe, and like Austin Dillon, he's going to be competing with. There's other guys, maybe some of the Penske guys like Logano and Cindric. I think he could be potentially contending with for a spot in the round of 12. But besides that, I really don't see Chastain making a run for the playoffs. SVG has to do a lot on the ovals to advance. Like, there's one other road course in the round of 12. So I guess if he can move on to the round of 12, SVG may have a good chance of moving on to the round of 8 as well. So we'll have to wait and see there. But I think we can all agree that Trackhouse is not a championship for contender at this current point. So I would have thought maybe they would like to see how this goes, like this new lineup in their competition roles for the rest of the year. I was also thinking like when I saw this, maybe they should have not changed it up. Like, see what helps, or maybe they can try something else. But I guess they're seeing that they aren't going to be contending for a championship, so they want to try something out for next season, get like a good baseline, see how it goes so far in this kind of small 11 race sample at the end of the NASCAR Cup Series season, and see how it translates into next season with a full year possibly under the belt for this entire group of new staff members in that organization. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this pan out for Trackhouse Racing as the year continues on into the playoffs, and we'll see how far Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen can go. All right, moving on to the final story of the show before we get to the little main segment here of analyzing the schedule. Bob Pockris announced on X that Legacy Motor Club has been granted their preliminary injunction that will keep Rick Ware Racing and Rick Ware from selling either of its charters to outside parties like they are trying to do with TJ Pusher. Quick little throwback and remember here, little throwback and just to get everyone caught up real quick. Rick Ware Racing, the current owner of Rick Ware Racing, who owns a two-car team, he's leasing one of his charters out to RFK Racing for Ryan Preece's number 60 car, which is currently contending for a playoff spot, but also owns Cody Ware's charter, who drives full-time in the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing. And it was announced back in July, I believe, that Rick Ware was going to sell the entire team, both the charters and all its assets, to TJ Pusher, the one of the founders of Spire Motorsports. He eventually sold his stake in the team and was kind of working at an investment firm, and now tried to buy Rick Ware Racing. And now Legacy Motor Club has got an injunction that will keep Rick Ware Racing from selling both those charters or any of its assets to anybody else, including TJ Pusher, and that will only be ended once this lawsuit is resolved, and a trial has been set for January of 2026. Remember, Legacy also got a temporary restraining order on Rick Ware to not sell their charters, so now this is a full preliminary injunction that will bar both Legacy, or it will bar Rick Ware Racing from selling either of its assets, either of its charters or the whole team to TJ Pusher until this lawsuit is resolved once again. But let's go ahead and move on to the final segment of today's show, the good and bad of 2026 NASCAR's schedules. So there's quite a bit of changes to both the Cup Series, the O'Reilly Series, and the Truck Series for next season. So I'm gonna go through some of the biggest changes and say whether I think they are good, bad. I might have one or two that are like kind of in the middle, like that I'm not sure about. We just may have to wait and see. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start out with a good one. First, the championship race for all three series, heading back to Homestead, Miami Speedway for the championship race. I'm more so speaking on the side of the Cup Series. I think going back to a track like Homestead, a mile and a half, where the next gen car puts on really good racing, will give it a more kind of, I would say, a better product of racing for the championship race. So, in my opinion, that is a good race. And the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, I think they'll all race pretty fine there. I think they all, like both series, race a little bit differently compared to the Cup Series, but they kind of race similar to the older styles of cars where they don't have the same issues as the next gen car does now. And then more so race kind of similar and again, don't have the same issues as next gen car and race kind of similar to the Gen 6 car. However, one negative and one bad, I should say, of the schedule, I guess I'm calling it a bad for the schedule, that the All Star race for the Cup Series will be at Dover Motor Speedway. I don't really get this. I've talked about it a lot. The racing, I really feel like it doesn't make sense. I feel like North Wilkesboro, if we were going to have an All Star race, like, if we were gonna move it, like, maybe, like, have it go to a better mile and a half or a better oval, maybe, like, Charlotte, like, have it go back there. If not, just keep it at North Wilkesboro. I thought the racing there has been pretty good, but instead we're going to Dover, a track that exposes a lot of the issues of the next gen car and doesn't have particularly great racing. So, I don't really get that. Plus, it's gonna be a daytime race, like, that doesn't look good on TV. I feel like a night race for the All-Star race is a lot better because they got no permanent lighting at Dover. I mean, maybe they might try to fix that, but it would take a lot of effort and resources to do that. So, and I just don't really see it happening. And I feel bad for the Dover, Delaware fans who like to show up to their home track in Dover for a Cup Series race because now they went from 2 points paying races a couple years ago to one, and now to an all-star race, an exhibition race. No points, just purely an exhibition race. You got to feel for all the Dover fans. So that's one bad of the new National Series schedules for 2026. But back to the good side, I believe that the San Diego Street Race at Naval Base Coronado, I think is a good move for the schedule to help kick off America's 250th birthday. It makes a lot of sense. It's a Navy base that will be celebrating the American Armed Forces, specifically the Navy. I think it's a really good idea. You're in San Diego, really good kind of area, Southern California. It gets NASCAR back in the Southern California market. We got Prime Video going to be covering that race. So I think that's going to be a really good race coverage. But besides that, I think it's going to be pretty good. Maybe, hopefully, the racing craft will be a little bit better compared to Chicago. I've yet to see it. I'm more so going based off of the circumstances surrounding it compared to something like the St. Petersburg uh, Grand Prix that will be taking place in the Truck Series, which I'll talk about in a moment. So I'm more so for San Diego going off of all the storylines that it creates and more so not out of the concern of how the racing is going to be. Because I think the racing is a little bit up in the air. So it could very easily go in the neutral area, but all the stuff and the planning and kind of the storylines it creates, I think it makes sure it probably goes on the good side of things. Now, I just mentioned the St. Petersburg truck race, the St. Petersburg Grand Prix, which will prelude the IndyCar race from St. Petersburg next year, all part of Fox kind of arranging this. Fox both broadcast the Truck Series exclusively and IndyCar exclusively. So Fox kind of had a hand in this, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna put this in neutral right now, mostly because I'm not sure how the Truck Series will race on a street course. It's a road course. I will say a good part of it is that it's on the East Coast. It's a little bit closer to home for some of these teams. I'm not really sure like how some of these teams, like maybe Halmar Friesen, for example, because I think they are based up in Canada, possibly. I'm wondering how they're gonna think of it, but it's on the East Coast. It's a little bit closer to home compared to a track like Chicago. So I'm a little bit concerned about the racecraft, about maybe some of the driving, maybe the maturity on such a narrow street race and street circuit, but I think it has all the potential to end up being a good move for NASCAR, putting it on their 2026 schedule. One more quick little bad move by NASCAR, because for the most part, I think that there's only really two bad moves by NASCAR, and that is removing Portland from the Xfinity Series schedule, because that leaves a pretty big gap in the northeast area of the United States for stock car racing. And I think they're essentially replacing that with another mile and a half, I think. But again, kind of leaves it a little bit of a big hole in that northeast region. I know the Xfinity Series is going to Naval Base Coronado next season. They're going to Chicagoland, which I'll talk about in a moment. I believe they're going to Chicagoland, right? Right. They're going to Chicagoland. Have to be, right? Hold on. Let me just look real quick. Yes, they are going to Chicagoland Speedway for 4th of July weekend with the Cup Series. So I'll talk about it in a moment as well. But the only real negative with Portland is that you just leave a big gap in that market, in that area. The racing there, I think, is fine. It's a road course for the Xfinity Series, or sorry, the O'Reilly Series. Oh man, It's gonna be a long time before I actually say the O'Reilly Series consistently. It's gonna take a little bit. But besides that, yeah, leaving a hole like that in that Northeast market, that's definitely a bad move by NASCAR, getting rid of Portland on the 2026 O'Reilly schedule. Now, moving on, I just talked about it once again. Chicagoland, NASCAR is heading back to Chicagoland for 4th of July weekend. This is a good move by NASCAR. Prime weekend date, 4th of July weekend, keeps NASCAR in that Chicago market. It's another mile and a half. The next gen car, again, talking specifically about the Cup Series, the next gen car races really well on mile and a halves, and with its worn out, aged surface, I think we have the potential to see some pretty solid racing. And eventually, when they do get a repave, I think the racing could be potentially pretty good as well. But for right now, with that aged surface, I think everything will be pretty good as well. But then you also got the Xfinity Series, and I believe the Truck Series may be going to Chicagoland as well. Um, no, it doesn't look like it. Sorry, guys. It looks like the Truck Series will not be going to Chicagoland. Are going to RIP next year. So, and they're returning to Lime Rock, which is another good thing. I do think the Truck Series going back to Lime Rock, getting in that little area of the Northeast in New England, I think is a good move for the Truck Series. Real quick, that's a good move by NASCAR, bringing the Truck Series back to Lime Rock Park next season. And now, finally, kind of an underrated move by NASCAR for the schedule, having Sonoma kick off the 5-race in-season challenge. This is another good move. More so on the fact relating to the in-season challenge, we won't have a similar situation to this year where at Atlanta to open it all off, you don't have all the big heavy hitters get taken out right away. You'll have the big road course ringers kind of move on, maybe have a couple upsets here and there because it is a road course. But you got Atlanta being the third race when the field isn't as big, and you'll have some of these maybe a little bit more kind of unknown battles at Atlanta, and anything can happen, and that will set up, I think, for a little bit better predictions and better storylines for the in-season challenge heading into the fourth race. But those are all my good and bad of the NASCAR 2026 schedules. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Is there anything that I missed, and if it's a good or a bad one? And let me know down in the comments if you agree with my decisions or my opinions on what is good and bad from the 2026 NASCAR schedules. But that's going to do it for me tonight, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know this episode is going up kind of late, but again, hope you guys enjoyed. Tomorrow night, the Daytona Coca-Cola Zero Sugar 400 from Daytona regular season finale. Qualifying got rained out as well, so Ryan Blaney and Alex Bowman both on the front row. Bowman needs to win his way in, so that's going to be interesting to watch. But I will catch you guys probably either Saturday night or Sunday evening, Monday morning, or Monday afternoon, depending when I can next get an episode up. But the next episode will be reacting to the regular season finale, and the playoff field will be set. Again, that's all I got for you guys tonight, and I will see you sometime soon, post race for Daytona. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.